factorization. Today I'm going to teach you how to factorize quadratic trinomials. We'll start at the level of grade 8 and 9 and then proceed to grade 10 and above. Alright, so what is a quadratic trinomial? So a quadratic trinomial, let's just write some notes. Quadratic trinomial. So first, trinomial means 3 terms. So it's an expression with 3 terms and one constant term, and lastly, the ratio of exponents is 2 to 1 or 1 is to 2, which means that when you divide the exponents there, the ratio of the exponents on one term to the exponent on the other term, the terms with the variables, you get 2 when you divide them, or you get half. Okay, so what are examples? Or just before we go to examples, another way to put it is to say you can rewrite it in the form. It's any expression, you can rewrite it in the form where this would be the variable, x would be the variable, and then you would have square, you would have exponent 1 there. Right, so any expression that can be rewritten in this form then is a quadratic trinomial. Now let's take some examples. So examples are what? X squared plus 7x plus 10. Another example would be let's say x squared minus x minus 6, and then let's say another one is 2x squared minus 10x plus 12, and lastly negative x squared minus 5x minus 6. So those are all quadratic trinomials. And as I said, we're starting with grade 8 and grade 9. So these are examples you typically find in a grade 8 or grade 9 problem set or a worksheet. Right, so next up we discuss how to factorize a quadratic trinomial. And I'll just erase these examples and I'll rewrite them when we are following the method. Right. So factorizing a quadratic trinomial. So what are the steps to factorize a quadratic trinomial in grade 8 and grade 9? Step 1, check the value of a in ax squared plus bx plus c. If it is not 1, then take out a as the highest common factor, HCF, right? Otherwise, you just leave it as is. Then step number 2, once you have taken out a out as a common factor, or if a is equals to 1, the next step then is to find factors of c. If you have taken out a as a common factor, you will use the new c, which would be of the expression that is in brackets, right? the factors of C that add up to B. In other words, you find factors of C that will add up to B. When you add them together, you get B. So that B there. But if you have A that you took out, then the B will be different from the original one. Alright, then from there, the third step is to open two pairs of parentheses. Two pairs of parentheses. Right? And with these two pairs of parentheses, like that, you have the fourth step. In the fourth step, you then write x plus, you write x plus d into x plus e, where x is the variable and d and e are the factors from step 2. Alright, so these are the steps of factorizing a quadratic trinomial. First one, we check and make sure that the coefficient of x squared is 1. If it is not 1, we take out whatever coefficient we have there as a highest common factor, so that we are left with 1 as a coefficient of the x squared inside brackets. And then we look at the quadratic trinomial in the brackets. Now, from there, once we know the x squared, the coefficient is 1, we go to step number 2. We find factors of a C that will add up to B. Then, from there, we open two pairs of brackets or parentheses, and then from there we write x plus d into x plus e, where d and e are the factors we found in step 2. And x is our variable. Okay. If you rewrote an expression that was given, that was not in the form ax squared plus bx plus c, but you rewrote it like that, then the x would be replaced by whatever you've had before, or that you rewrote into that form. Okay, so 4 steps, simple. Now, let's take some examples, and we will be following these steps. We're going back to the examples that I've showed you before. I'll start by writing the examples there. So the first example was x squared plus 7x plus 10. The second was x squared minus x minus 6. The third was 2x squared minus 10x plus 12. And then the last one was negative x squared minus 5x plus 14. So how do we factorize the first one? Well, solution. Well, it's a suggested solution, so maybe there are other ways to do this. I mean, there are so many other ways to do it, but this is the best way I have found. So now you have what? For the x squared plus 7x plus 10, what you do is find factors of 10 because this is already 1. Right. Since this is 1, that's step 1. Remember, step 1, you check that this is 1. If it is not 1, you take whatever that is here out as a highest common factor, which means you will write it outside and divide everything with that highest common factor as well. So in this case, this is 1. So we just start by step 2. We go to step 2, find factors of 10. That will give us 7. To find factors, it's important. We do this. We divide by natural numbers and skip the ones that leave remainders. So only the ones that do not leave remainders are factors. The ones that leave remainders are not factors. So we do this. You divide then you get the answer. Then your factors, your pair of factors will be what you divided with and what you got as the answer. So 1 and 10 are factors. And then from this pair, you can get another pair by changing the signs of the pair that you have here. So changing the signs, you get -1 and -10. Then you go on to 2 now. 2 is equals to 10 divided by 2 is equals to 5. So we have 2 and 5. And -2 and -5. Remember, you get the second set by changing the signs of the first pair. Then we go to 10. We can't divide by 3 because it will leave a remainder, so it's not a factor. 4 also leaves a remainder. 5 goes. But when you start to see a factor you already have, it means you have found all the factors, so we stop. Okay. So once you've found all the factors like we did, now we look which ones add up to 7. That is this one's 2 and 5. These two look like they add up to 7, but they will add up to -7 instead. These two add up to -11. These ones add up to 11. There will always be exactly one pair that will give you the 7. That is why I like this method. Okay. Now, once you have that, step number 3 is to open the parentheses here, 2 pairs. And then step number 4 is to write x, and then we write the factors that we have with the signs that they have. 2 plus 5, because they're both positive. If one of them was negative, we're going to have minus there. And so that is how we've done the first one, or how we do the first one. Now let's go to the second one. X squared minus x minus 6. To factorize this one, we first check, is this 1 or not 1? Well, this is 1 already. Okay, cool. So we're done with step 1. Then remember, if it is not 1, we will take whatever is here and as the highest common factor out, and then divide everything with it as well to change the expression accordingly. But here it is 1, so we go to the -6. So we must take the sign there as well. Okay, must not leave out the sign. So -1, find all factors of -1, and then from there we'll find which ones give us -1. So -6 divided by 1 is -6. So our factors are what you divided with and what you got as the answer. And the other pair is found by changing the signs of this. 1 changes to -1, -6 to 6. -6 divided by 2 is -3. So we have 2 and -3. And then to get another pair, so that is what you divide with and what you got as the answer. To get another pair, we change the signs. So we get +3. Then we go to -6 divided by 3. Well, we already have 3 here. So it means that we have to stop because we found all the factors of -6. Now, let's look at the factors and see which ones will give us -1. And if you check carefully, these ones will give us -1. Only this one. There will always be only one pair that gives you the correct value of the smaller power of the variable, or the coefficient of the smaller power of the variable, or the middle term in this case. Right, so now the third step is to open parentheses, and then the fourth step is to write the variable that we have and the factors with their signs. And so the answer for this one is x plus 2 into x minus 3. Now, to check your answer, of course, you can multiply out here, even on the first one. You should get the original expression after simplifying. Then let's go to the third one. We still have some space, so maybe we can do the third one without erasing. So let's see, the third one is 2x squared minus 10x plus 12. And so to do this one, we see this is not 1. The coefficient of the highest power of x here is not 1. So we're going to have to take out the 2 as a common factor. If you take out the 2, you will have to write the 2 outside and you divide each term by 2. Dividing this by 2, we get x squared. Dividing this by 2, we get minus 5x. Dividing the 12 by 2, we get plus 6. And so we have taken out the 2 as a highest common factor. Now, going further, now we look at the expression inside the brackets, because now it has the highest power there having a coefficient of 1. So we look at the factors of 6. That will give us negative 5. And we have factors of negative 6 there, so it's very easy to get the answers quickly here. We just remove the negative, so we're going to get 6 divided by 1 is 6, so we're going to get 1 and 6, and then the other pair will be negative 1 and negative 6, and then 6 divided by 2 is 3, and then we're going to get 2 and 3 and negative 2 and negative 3. And then 6 divided by 3, we already have 3, so we stop. It means we have found all factors of 6. Now, going on with the steps, now we're going to have what? We know the next step, or the third step, is to open 2 pairs of parentheses. And then the last step is to do what? X, but let's not forget the 2 that is outside here. Sorry, my bad, I almost forgot it. So we have the 2 there, but now focusing on this, we have found the factors that will give us negative 5. Here they are, negative 2 and negative 3. The other 2 and 3 give you 5, not negative 5. So then we write x into x, and we also write negative 2, negative 3 as they are. And so that is the answer there. Then the last one, we might have to erase in order for us to be able to do this without a problem. So I'm going to erase what we have so far and then do the last one. So for the last one, we have negative x squared minus 5x plus 14. And this is, if we want to factorize this, remember first step we look at the number next to the x squared. We see, oh wait, it's not 1. If it is not 1, we take it out as a common factor. So we're going to take out the negative. It's basically negative 1. When it's a 1 as a coefficient, we don't write it. Just like when an exponent is 1, we don't write it. We call it a ghost 1. So taking the negative out, we're left with x squared. Here everything will have to change a sign. Plus 5x minus 14. Okay, so that's the first step there. And then from there, we will look at the expression in the bracket because it is in the desired form. The x squared, the coefficient of it is 1. So we will need factors of negative 14. Don't forget to take the sign there as well. So we're going to find factors of negative 14 that will add up to give us positive 5. So we'll start with negative 14 divided by 1 is equals to negative 14. So we get 1 and negative 14. And then we get the other pair by changing the sign. So negative 1 and 14. And then we get negative 14 divided by 2 is negative 7. So we get 2 and negative 7 and negative 2 and 7. Remember, we get the second pair by changing the signs of the first pair. Then negative 14 divided by, we check 3 won't go because it will leave a remainder. 4 will leave a remainder, 5 leaves a remainder, 6 leaves a remainder, 7 goes, but we already have 7 there as a factor, so it means we have found all the factors. Remember, when you start to see factors that you already have, it means you have found all the factors of that negative 14 or of that constant term. Now that we have all the factors, we check which ones will give us positive 5. And if you check, only this one here gives us positive 5. The other one gives us a negative 5. The others are too far. They give us 13, negative 13. So the next step then is to go what? Negative, we still have this negative there, is to open 2 pairs of parentheses. Don't forget the number that you took out as you go to step 3. And then step 4 is to write x, and then the factors as they are in the brackets. And so that is how you do the last one. So that is how you factorize quadratic trinomials for grade 8 and grade 9. In the next video, we do how to factorize this for grade 10 and above.